Hi, welcome to Arthaprabodhini. Do you know how the companies calculate the cost of a product, what they produce? It all starts with something called a cost sheet. Today we are going to learn about this cost sheet. First, let us understand how a product is getting manufactured. In this slide we can see raw material on the left side, that is aluminum sheets, and some fittings. These are the inputs. And in the middle we can see a manufacturing process to make a pressure cooker, where various processes like cutting, forming, assembly, and quality inspection are involved. And on the right, the finished goods for sale. Now you might wonder why we are discussing this in the cost sheet. While preparing cost sheet, we come across various costs, which comes under different category depend on the nature and function for which it is incurred. Proper understanding of cost, classification of cost based on the function for which incurred, is very much important to draw a proper cost sheet. Now let us understand what is cost sheet and why we need to prepare cost sheet. A cost sheet is a statement that presents the detailed breakup of total cost of production or service. It shows how the cost is structured across direct material, labor, expenses, overheads, etc. for a particular product, job, or batch. In short, we can say it is a statement from which we can find the cost of production and cost per unit of product or service. The objective to prepare cost sheet is to know the cost of production and cost per unit of product produced. Cost per unit of production will help to fix the selling price of the product. Compare the cost of production on QOQ or YOY. This will help to take corrective measure to control cost. Cost sheet helps in decision making, that is, whether should a manufacturer of a product in-house or buy from outside. In the cost sheet, all the costs are grouped under the following heads, that is, prime cost, factory cost, cost of goods sold, and cost of sales, based on the nature and function of expenses incurred. First, we need to calculate the prime cost, that is basically direct cost incurred for production of goods. The prime cost includes raw material consumption, direct labor, and direct expenses. To calculate the raw material consumption, we need to take value of opening stock of raw material, add value of raw material purchased during the period, and deduct closing stock of raw material. Direct labor means salaries of direct employees who engaged in the production. Direct expenses means job work charges, royalty paid, etc. After prime cost, we need to calculate factory cost. To calculate factory cost, we need to take value of prime cost and add production overhead to it, and adjust the opening and closing work in progress. Production overhead includes consumption of indirect consumables, indirect salaries, that's salaries of supervisions and manager who involved in production, electricity of factory, maintenance of factory, depreciation of plant and machinery, depreciation of factory building, etc. Now the cost of goods sold. To arrive the cost of goods sold, we need to add administrative overhead to factory cost, and add value of opening finished good, and deduct value of closing finished goods. Administrative overhead includes salaries of office staff, electricity of office, maintenance of office, depreciation of office building, depreciation of office equipment, etc. In the last, cost of sales. To calculate cost of sales, we need to add selling and distribution expenses to cost of goods sold. Selling and distribution expenses includes salaries of sales staff, sales commission, sales promotion expenses, traveling expenses of sales team, etc. If you add profit to cost of sales, we will get sales value. This way, in the cost sheet, we bifurcate cost into prime cost, factory cost, cost of goods sold, and cost of sales. Here's an example. The details of various expenses incurred in a month and values of opening stock and closing stock is given. On the right-hand side, we can see the details of opening and closing stock raw material, which we need to add and subtract to arrive raw material consumption. Work in progress, which we need to add and subtract to arrive factory cost. Finished, which we need to add and subtract to arrive cost of goods sold. In the left we have details of expenses incurred are given, that is, material purchased, it is part of prime cost. Freight on material, it is part of prime cost as part of material consumption. Direct labor and royalty paid is part of prime cost. Indirect labor, factory manager salary, factory maintenance, rates and taxes factory, miscellaneous expenses factory, are part of factory cost. Sales commission, sales traveling, sales promotion, salary of sales promotion, salary of selling and distribution expenses, salary of office staff is part of admin cost. Electricity factory is part of factory cost. Electricity admin office is part of admin cost. Electricity sales office is part of selling and distribution cost. Depreciation on plant and machinery is part of factory overhead. Depreciation of factory building is factory overhead. Depreciation of office building and office equipment is admin overhead. Depreciation of sales building is part of S&D overhead. Now we will part these number in the cost sheet as per their respective classification. Here we will plot all the number given the question. Let's begin with prime cost. First we take value of opening stock of raw material, and then add value of purchases and freight inward, and deduct closing stock, we will get raw material consumption. Then, take direct labor and direct expenses, that is royalty, to get the prime cost. To calculate factory cost, we need to take prime cost first. Then we need to add production overheads, that is, indirect labor, factory manager salary, factory maintenance, rates and taxes factory electricity, depreciation of factory building and plant and machinery. These all are factory overhead expenses which are very much required to run the production. Then we need to add value of opening WIP, mean value of opening semi-finished goods, and deduct value of closing WIP, means closing semi-finished goods. Now we got the factory cost. To the factory cost, we need to add various admin overheads to get cost of production. And to the cost of production, we need to add value of opening finished goods and less value of closing finished goods to get the cost of goods sold. Admin overhead includes salaries of office staff, electricity office, rates and taxes office, depreciation building and office equipment. To the cost of goods sold, we need to add selling and distribution overhead. That is, electricity charges of sales office, salaries of sales staff, sales promotion expenses, traveling expenses of sales staff. With this, we will get cost of sales. If we add required profit to the cost of sales, we will get sales value. This way, we need to prepare cost sheet. Hope you have understood the basics of cost sheet. If you find this video useful, please share it with your friends and give your comments. Thank you for watching.